Let's continue. Let's continue with our debate of the state of the province. I know that the UTM is not here. I don't see the EFF. In the absence of the EFF, I will call upon the Democratic Alliance, Honorable Kaule, to come and debate the state of the province. You have only 10 minutes, Honorable Kaule. Thank you. You may proceed.
I heard you, Ndivile. Honourable Chair of Chairs, Honourable Premier, Honourable Members of the Executive and Members of the House, officials and guests, I greet you all. Honourable Chair of Chairs, the Premier speaks of seamless progress in the Eastern Cape under his tenure. He also speaks of building the province that we want. Unfortunately, once again, the Premier views our province through rose-tinted glasses and only sees what he wants to see. According to the Premier, the Department of Health's Specialised Litigation Unit is bearing fruit as medico-legal claims against the department are decreasing. What he fails to mention is that according to the Auditor General's report, this department's failure to provide reliable information for actual performance was so severe that 60% of all material indicators were considered unreliable. Furthermore, their inability to manage patient records is due to massive internal control deficiencies. It has no way of measuring the contingent liability against it because there are insufficient records to do so. So the litigation unit has no reliable way of measuring its success. This is not seamless program, but rather operational failure. Furthermore, the AG found that the department's poor financial performance was contributing to the deaths of pregnant women and children. This is not seamless progress. This is manslaughter. The Premier speaks of building the brand new Cecilia Makiwane Hospital in Buffalo City Municipality and Sipetu Hospital in Alfred Nzo. These are indeed lovely facilities, but sadly they, like all the other hospitals, are grossly understaffed and healthcare delivery is crippled. He fails to mention that in 2019 he committed to increasing the number of facilities achieving ideal clinic status from 56% in 2019 to 80% by 2024. Sadly, just 25% of clinics met ideal clinic status in 2023, a decline and a decrease of more than 100%. This is not seamless progress, Honourable Chair of Chairs. This is rapid regression. Not one word was spoken about the department's accruals, which now hover around 4 billion, or the fact that some suppliers have not been paid for more than a year, resulting in the non-supply of critical medications. As we speak, clinics in the Chris Hani district have no blood pressure or TB medication. He talks about providing the department with 312 new ambulances to improve response times in emergencies. But we only have 439 ambulances, and at any given time, 150 of these are in for repairs. Response times cannot possibly improve under these constraints. Huge EMS staff vacancies mean we can't even man the ambulances that we do have. This is not seamless progress, Honourable Chair. This is radical regression. Our DA-led Western Cape hospitals are the only state hospitals on the continent that offer robotic surgery to all patients, regardless of their financial circumstances. But in our Eastern Cape hospital, theatres are closed, posts are vacant, and surgery backlogs are years long. When girls as young as 10 years old are giving birth and there is no policy in place to address the consequences for their statutory rape, please do not tell me that we are building the province that we want. When crippled patients have to wait 10 years for orthopedic surgery because the department has squandered its money on cadres in blue light brigades, please do not tell me we are building the province that we want. Moving on to the economy, The Premier quotes the third quarter unemployment stats for 2023 at 38.8%, but disingenuously failed to announce the fourth quarter stats. The reality is that we experienced the highest increase in job losses in the country. You didn't mention the figures, Honourable Premier, through you, Honourable Chair. And our unemployment rate is the highest in the country at 41.9%. In stark contrast, the Western Cape government, through its game-changing Jobs for Growth strategy, enables the private sector to accelerate economic growth. This is why in the fourth quarter of last year, when the country experienced 22,000 job losses, the only province to grow jobs was the Western Cape. This is why in the last financial year, of the 169,000 jobs created, 167,000 of them were created in the Western Cape. That, Honourable Premier, is game-changing and seamless progress. It was good to hear the Premier announcing that extra flights will be scheduled at our airports and airports will be upgraded, as this will enhance economic activity. I would like the Premier to provide us more detail, please, and explain how he intends extending the King Paulo runways when they are surrounded by illegal mansions allegedly built by his government officials on invaded declared forestry land to avoid paying municipal rates, and which pose a huge risk to aviation. Honourable Chair of Chairs, we are indeed very pleased that Volkswagen Africa Group has recommitted to staying in the Eastern Cape, despite the myriad challenges. The provincial government must now ensure that the transition to electronic vehicle production is smooth, well-planned and time-bound. Honourable Chair, I'd like to give credit where credit is due, and our two SEZs continue to shine despite severe challenges. My sincere hope is that they play an integral part in the development of the EV industry. Honourable Chair, the Premier's failure to even mention the natural environment exposes his poor understanding of how economies come to thrive. In the DA-led Kocha municipality, competent environmental management has resulted in clean public spaces, blue flag beaches, environmental clean-up campaigns, and an award of 5 million rand from DDIT for the Keep Kocha Clean and Green initiative. As a result, tourists are flocking to Kocha. In other parts of the province, we have sewage flowing freely into rivers that humans depend on for water. We have more than 250 illegal sand mines on the once pristine Wild Coast, and we have piles of unremoved waste in almost every town. In 2021, the Premier bragged of the Marine Tilapia project, which would create 4,700 jobs and benefit 150,000 small-scale farmers who would supply feedstock for the fish feed. Achieved so far, 0 jobs, 0 fish, and 1 big fat specials investigation unit investigation into corruption. Why don't you self-correct that? Last year, the ECPTA ran at a loss of 90 million. This does not augur well for tourism. The closure of the legendary Mazeppa Bay Beach Hotel is a case in point. Other hotels on the Wild Coast are hanging on by a thread. No investment in roads equals no tourists. This is not rocket science. Failure to protect the environment will only exacerbate the tourism drain. Despite this, the province only allocated 1.6 million rand for environmental law enforcement. In the OR Tambo district, there is exactly 1 vehicle for the entire district department to share. How are law enforcement officers then supposed to operate? You have set them up to fail. This is not how we build the province we want. I leave you with the words of the late Chris Hani, who said, "What I fear is that the liberators emerge as elitists who drive around in Mercedes-Benzes and use the resources of this country to live in palaces and gather riches." Sadly, his great fear has become a reality. In one word, the state of our province is this: broken. And only a competent and caring DA can rescue and rebuild it. I thank you.
Thank you very much. May I call upon the African National Congress, Honourable Fihlani. Your 30 minutes starts now. 1-3.
Nendokuthetha. Ngakwazi ukuthetha. Honorable Chair of Chairs, Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, Chief Whip, Deputy Chief Whip, malungu onke endlelwe umthetho. Kamagosa uqala inhloko yamagosa amakhulu ephondo lilonke. Wakhokhe lonke nakwela cala phezulu Zulu kaNtombela. Honorable Chair of Chairs, we as a African National Congress, today we say we rise as a custodian of the people's aspirations in this house and even in the community. We have Avon. And we are guided, we say we have been guided by the struggle for the freedom and continue to shape our vision of a truly just and equitable society. Isazawuzapha kuni nazi into zenu, ndinibhalela iindaba zenu nazi. I would like also to reiterate the stance of South African government on the Israel-Palestine conflict that has consistently expressed solidarity with the Palestinian people and condemned the illegal occupation of Palestinian territories by the Israel government. Our national parliament demonstrated its commitment to the freedom and human rights of the people of Palestine through voting to serve our diplomatic ties with Israel state, sternly believing that the right of the Palestinian people to statehood and self-determination and supporting a negotiated two-state solution that will bring about a lasting peace and stability. Honorable Chair of Chairs, this is but one of the many instances where we have demonstrated the power of our democracy in advancing freedom, justice, and transformation both domestically and internationally. Since the dawn of democracy, we have strived tirelessly to transform the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature into an institution that is responsive, accountable, transparent, one that actively engages with the citizens it serves and empowers them to participate in the democratic process. Our legislative endeavors have been guided by the commitment to promoting equality and well-being of citizens. We have enacted laws and advocated for the development of policies aimed at addressing the root causes of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, thus creating an enabling environment for economic growth, social cohesion, and sustainable development in the Eastern Cape. Honorable members, our efforts to foster a people-centered activist parliament have yielded significant results, as evidenced by the numerous oversight initiatives undertaken to scrutinize government programs, monitor service delivery, and hold public officials to account. To this end, we have reinforced Portfolio Committee on Health with the Committee of the Whole House to conduct oversight visits to public health facilities across the province. We have also continued with the annual school oversight visits to the schools, covering the length and breadth of this province. Through rigorous oversight, we have identified areas where service delivery has fallen short and taken steps to ensure that government institutions fulfill their obligations to the people. We have held public hearings, conducted site visits, and have taken and followed up on House resolutions to address challenges in sectors such as health, education, human settlement, transport, and infrastructure. We have sought to strengthen the accountability of the executive through processing 1,300 parliamentary questions in this House and introducing orderly questions to the Premier to enhance oversight to the executive. It's only on this term when we're able to do that. As Karl Marx famously stated, the philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. We have heeded this call to action through understanding that people are their own agents of change and have held various sectoral parliaments, such as Parliament for the Youth, the Religious Sector, LGBTQIA+ community, encourage broad participation of the public parliamentary processes. Through our own portfolio committees, we have considered and adopted departmental annual budgets that have been passed by this august House, recognizing the importance of economic development in driving a social progress and reducing poverty. We have prioritized programs aimed at stimulating economic growth, creating jobs, empowering designated groups in the Eastern Cape. Through targeted interventions such as infrastructure investment, skill development, and support for small, medium-sized business, we have laid a foundation for more inclusive and prosperous economy that benefits the citizens of our province. Honorable Chair of Chairs, for our own oversight work, have exposed many instances where we have found that there's mismanagement, irregular expenditure, and we have taken decisive actions to hold those responsible accountable for their actions in various committees that we have used. We have been consistent in conducting oversight on audit reports as conducted by the AG, Auditor General, and will continue to do so, and also monitor the findings and also encourage the improvement by the departments and their entities, which have, we've seen that the audit outcomes have improved in various departments, as Honorable Premier has presented those audit findings, some of the, and awarded those who have clean audits, if there's that English name, or that name in English, that is called clean audit, Honorable Stevenson. We have held public hearings to solicit inputs from citizens on bills. As we say, economic development, finance are out. Now some members are out on soliciting those views, and also making sure that the voices of the people of the province are heard. We say also we've recently from the taking parliament to the people in the area of Sarah Batman, where we have witnessed many petitions that we have dealt with in that area. And as champions of social change and equality, we have enacted laws to protect rights of vulnerable groups, including women, children, persons with disabilities, and the LGBTQIA+ community. We have strengthened legislation to ensure that citizens enjoy rights and opportunities in the Eastern Cape, and repealed over 45 pieces of older legislation in the previous, since the beginning of the previous term of government. Honorable Chair of Chairs, during the 6th term, we have passed the Eastern Cape Money Bills Amendment Procedure and Related Money Matters Act of 2020 to enhance our institution's financial oversight abilities, to enable our newly constituted budget committee to amend money bills. We are yet to be to that stage. Honorable members, the progress we have made in building a people-centered and activist parliament in the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature is a testament to our unwavering commitment to serving people and advancing their interests. Through our oversight work and lawmaking initiatives, we have made significant strides in improving service delivery, combating corruption, empowering communities, promoting economic growth and development, and advancing social change. However, our work is far from complete, Honorable Zibonda. It's very far from being complete. And we must remain vigilant, proactive in addressing the challenges that lie ahead. And we agree that we still have some challenges, but those challenges are not insurmountable. Inkosi Albert Luthuli once said, "The road to freedom is via the cross." Our journey towards a truly liberated and prosperous society will be fought with challenges and sacrifices, but we must remain steadfast and in our commitment to people and the principles that have guided our struggle in freedom. Together, let us rededicate ourselves to the noble cause of building a more just, equitable, prosperous society for who can call Eastern Cape the home. Let us all harness the power of democracy to effect positive change in our lives, of our fellow citizens, and leave a lasting legacy of the progress and prosperity for the generations and generations to come. Mandize kwiileta zenu ke. Okokuqala, mhlambi kokuqala ke sihlalo osihlalo. Ndivumele nje ngelithuba ndithi kubo bonke abantu abahle baka February, wonke all the beautiful February girls and boys, handsome and beautiful, all of you abalapha in the house from the 1st of February to the 29th, because this year is leap year. Siyazijongela ke nakule unyaka wethu siziqaje lapho sifuna uqaqela khona. Siba sithi ke noko, beautiful people of February, continue to do so. Nisenza okulungileyo ngoba ningabantu abathandayo nabanothando in a love man. We've noted that there are parties that have already vanished in this house. I-29th kaMeya ikafiki apha chair of chairs, but sekukhona iparties esizibonayo ba azikho kwalapha, and ke ithi ke loo nto le iyasixelela uba zikhona ezingazubuya nasemva ko-20. Siyabuya thina ngo-29 kaMeya. ANC izabe yongezelekile kule 72, sizawu-72 sigqithele ngaphaya. So sizabe sibuye silapha as African National Congress. Singenamo wangalala wa coalition, antena ngoba i-coalition, la coalition elugquzulwana, simana ngquzulwano apha kule nto. Ndizawuthi ke kwiitshomi zam ezi zingohloniphekile uVena, mhlambi kufuneka ke bafunde umohluko kule nto kuthiwa si-strategy ne-tactic. Every time sinesopa,
1 minute left, Honorable.
Yo, kanjani? Every time sinesopa, they're using the same tactic. Mabafunde i-strategy. Nina ke be-DA, ndiniva nithetha ngo-Amika Cabral apha, ndiniva nithetha ngonto hebethu nani. Noko ke funeka nizazi kuba ke siyavuya uba nike niyive kanti le nto, kodwa kuthiwa sufihla nto kwi-masses, nitsho apha. Ngoku amaSirayeli abulewe, nithule anitsho nto. Kunini amaPalestina abulewe, ebulewa ngamaSirayeli. Nihamba namaSirayeli ahambe ebulala abantu, nihleli tana kumnandi, abantwana nabanomama babhubhile pha. Kwize niphinde nithi ke ngoku masingafihli into kwi-masses. Sithi ke kuni niyazi uba kuthiwa liyatsitsetsa, hantlentle liyatsitsetsa. Hantlentle liyatsitsetsa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Fihlan. I will call upon the ATM, Honorable Mampofu. Your 9 minutes starts now. Thank you very much.
Nkosi kakhulu, Chair of Chairs, manibulele kakhulu ngethuba onikeza lona. Maniqhubeke ke nentetho yam. Njengokuba ndithe ndamiswa ndiqhubeka nayo. Into endicela into yokuba abantu bonke bayi-understand. Kufike ixesha ngoku lokuba sinyanisekele ukukhululeka kwethu. Ukuba ngaba asizukunyanisekela ukukhulula kwethu, sizoba nenkululeko yendebe zomlomo. Zinhle kakhulu Premier izinto ozibekayo apha nezithembisayo, but ilishwa lelokuba azikwazi uyofikelela pha kubantu abahluphekayo bale province yakho. Siyazibona inzame zakho, uzama investors bamazizi apha, but eyona nto iyingxaki endicinga into yoba sifesene nayo nesizimiseleyo thina uba mayike iadreswe yinto yokuba abantwana bethu bafana nabantu nje ekutyiwa inyama phambi kwabo bona bosulele ngenqathe emlonyeni. Uza amabhiliyoni esizapha eprovinsini, but abantu bashiyeke behlupheka on the ground. Asiyidispute into yokuba ama-investors yeza namabhiliyoni apha kule province. But what you are saying, azikwazi ukuba ne-impact on the ground. That's why sinale situation esinayo. And if we are running away from that fact, it simply means we don't have passion of our province. Ndihlupheke kakhulu xa bendikuvizo lapho uthi uyathanda ukuba ngummi wale province. But ukuba ngummi we-province whereby ubonakala uba izinto ziyazisonakala, izawugqibela loo nto yenze ntoni? We are saying as ATM, let's join hands. Simbele indlela yokuba sikhululeke ngokunyanisekileyo. Xa besimamele phaa ngelaa suku lesopa, uke seva ndabona uba ke ngoku umoya wamanyanga uyasebenza xa ndimamela imbongi phaa. Kuvela into ethethwa imbongi endicela uba le province mayiqaphele. Ithi imbongi, imfene ndala mabantu mabathembe yona. Now, xa simamele laa nto thina njengabantu bakwantu, Honorable Premier, we are saying, njengabantu abantsundu, imfene ke isetyenziswa ngabantu abathanda ukuba nenhliziyo ezimbi kwabanye abantu. Ngabathakathi ke sibabiza kanjalo apha. Umthakathi xa esayithuma imfene yakhe, noba ungayibetha ithini, iyaya as long as athena kubo. So what we are saying here, masingavumeli ukuba ilizwe lethu likholapsiswe ngabantu abane-interest zabo. Let's stand up ngoku simele ukukhululwa kwelizwe lethu. Apha sithetha ngezinto ezinkulu ezenzekayo kwelizwe. Look at into yaseMbizana, Premier lebuthetha ngayo yamanzi pha. It's an embarrassment. Into yabantu baseMbizana kwenzima bafumana amanzi. Kuthethe ngedam eliqhekekileyo. Why xa kufika ixesha lethu lenkululeko kusakho amadam aqhekekayo? Apha eSouth Africa sihle namadam ayakhwe kudalo. Kutheni la akhiwa ngexesha lethu aqhekekayo? It simply means kukhona kurobheka okuthile okwenzekayo. Oku kubangela uba ke Premier nawe ude usho uthi hey nana apha emampondweni senzohamba kumgwaqo. Kwakutheni ngexesha le-colonization ingakhiwa la migwaqo? Kwakutheni ngexesha le-apartheid ingakhiwa le migwaqo? Till today isenziwa ngathi kuthi yifavor. Why? Why kuzawuthiwa till today? It simply means senziwe ukuba singabi na-interest yokumela izinto inguqu elizweni lethu. Kufuneka siyithethe ngomlomo ingakwazi uba nemsebenzi pha. That is the honest truth. Apha Honorable Premier, mandiyithethe ungafithisiyo lesi statement sam. Senziwe sileli phondo ukuba Sheriff Chair, through you. This, as far as we can see, this is just a silent war that is using silent weapons to destroy our people. Ikusasa lelizwe lethu likhome kwabantwana badestroyekayo ngoku. Ibenhle into esiyibuye lapha sancoma nathi Honorable MEC Gade. Umsebenzi wenziwe zitishala nedepartment yakho pha ukupasa kwabantwana ngelazinga. But ke ngoku make sithethe inyaniso. Bangapha abantwana ababengene nabantwana esikoleni abashiyeke endleleni, dropouts. And yintoni cause yalento? And if you don't address ezazi zinto ezi, sizobantu siqhwabela abathile, and lento yenza ku-divide the society lento. Because aba bantwana bakhula nabo bebepasa apha ngoku, bashiyeka apha bonakele emiphefumulweni yabo. That's why there is crime in this country. Sizothi namhlanje Premier, make sibe serious ekubeni kube khona inguqu elizweni lethu. Ndivile ke xa besipha kwisopa noba singayibaleka leyo nyaniso kuba naku ke sinisifiyezi sinazo. Kodwa iyabonakala bikhona into ethethayo uba ndive sokusisho ingoma kwisopa ethi sekusela iintsuku ezingaphi. And I want to repeat this. Abantu baseMzantsi Afrika asinalo ixesha ngoku sibe sisenze ezi debate as unnecessary. We interact with them on the ground. Sihlala nabo, that's why sithetha izidingo zabo. Asibathetheli, sithetha into abazibonayo phaya. And bathembe ukuthi iparlamente lithemba lokugqibela lesizwe. Xa sizawuhlangana apha kungabikho solutions kwezinto ezikhathaza abantu pha. Simise ngeebillions ezingenayo, but asikwazi ukubanceda abantu bethu. Ziphelela kubantu abathile. Apha eSouth Africa sikabi nayo ikampani yakhe imoto. Make badingqibezela ngokuthetha loo nto Premier. Apha sine companies ezihlanganisa imoto ezakhiwa kwamanye amazwe. I-economy eya kula trade ayichaphazeli kakhulu abantu on the ground, only shows and few. It's worse that abantwana bethu apha Eastern Cape asikho isikolo apho kutrainwa khona abantwana ukuthi bafithishe kula economy. It's an economy that is not going to favor them, though is ubo up, and no one want to address that issue. And why should we condone such a thing? Because it had to go to London. It's a hidden agenda to kill this province.
2 minutes
We
left,
can't
Honorable
keep
Member.
quiet about that. Okugqibela nje share of shares. Ndibe buhlungu xa uPremier ethetha ngendima yamakhosi nabantwana lolwaluko nefamily, because kulapho iqale khona loo nto nakele. Ii-families zizwe ezakhe isizwe, isiko lelesizwe. Ukuba ngaba amakhosi siwanqumla izandla emveni koko sithengise ngawo ebantwini sithi hayi amakhosi akafanele, ithetha ukuthi lona siyabulala elilizwe. Ii-families azinokwazi ukukontroleka xa sizangazi usebenza phansi kolawulo. Kungako siyiphakamisa into yoba ulawulo lwamakhosi elifike i-colonization lukhona apha lusigcine siseliqolweni, lusigcine siphila, malubuyelo lalawulo. Siye kuhamba sithatheka zizinto zabantu ngoba zizwe ezisixakisileyo ngoku esoba ngathi sixabana sodwa. Ndizama ukuthi ke Honorable Share of Share, ndiyabulela kakhulu ngale mzuzu ondinikeze wona. Siyabulela kakhulu ogxa bam aba wena bazofika ixesha apho bazoyi-understanda into yokuba asizanga kuzolwa nabantu thina apha, sizonika ithemba esizweni. Okwesibini sizonika isupport kubo bonke abantu abafuna inkqubela phambili kweli lizwe, size adresse ii-issues esizaziyo, singapretend as if we don't see these things. Ukuba sizawupretenda uzawuthini ngoba nguyise wabantwana nje, ungumzali wabantwana nje, abantwana bakho njengoba sithetha nje, if you are running away to address these issues bazawusafarisha, so ungasabenefit ke wena ukhona mhlawumbe usagcina into ze-benefit. We need to prepare the future of this country before let it collapse. That's my statement.
Thank you very much, Honorable
Honorable
Share. The Democratic Alliance, Honorable Kassim, your 15 minutes starts now.
Thank you, Honourable Chair of Chairs, to the Honourable Premier, and to all of those that debated in this State of the Province address today. My colleague, the Honourable Stevenson, earlier said that he is not here, quoting from Shakespeare, to bury or to praise Caesar. But Honourable Premier, as I watched this debate, I hoped that we would have an honest reflection of the challenges that we face as a country and debate and discuss solutions on how do we overcome these challenges. Instead, what I witnessed was an endless parade of praise singers, praising the emperor. The Honorable Makashele said that he was captivated by the sopa. The Honorable Zolile Williams perhaps took the cake. If you want the best praise singer, Honorable Premier, the Honorable Williams was the best. He said that he admired your robustness, courageousness, and alacrity. Now, they don't know what we know, Honorable Premier, and they won't tell you what we'll tell you, that the emperor might be praised today, but the emperor is naked. And let me start with some of the claims that were made in this debate, and let me tell you what your praise singers won't. And I'm going to start, Honorable Premier, with the Honorable Mvoko. The Honorable Mvoko speaks about the employment rate, and as was pointed out by the Honorable Cowley, speaks about the third quarter of 2023 unemployment rate, without speaking about the latest labor force employment statistics. Now, when the Honorable Premier came into office at the beginning of this term, there was a promise that was made to the people of our province. And that promise was to halve the unemployment rate by the end of this term. Now, if we are going to reflect honestly, we must accept and acknowledge that the unemployment rate today is 4.3% higher than when the Premier took office. And no amount of trying to boast about things that we shouldn't be boasting about is going to mask the fact of the unemployment lines that litter our towns across our province. One of the boasts that was made as an example was about the 1 billion rand invested by CETAs. Now, I used to serve, Honourable Mvoko, on the Higher Education Portfolio Committee in Parliament, and I can tell you that the skills levy that CETAs enjoy exceed 11, 12, 13 billion rand. So a province like the Eastern Cape, with the highest unemployment rate in the country, that requires the most skills development, I don't believe boasting about 1 billion rand out of a pot like that is one that we must celebrate. In fact, what I would expect us to do is to announce plans to lobby for additional funding for our people so that more of our youth in particular and many of our countrymen can benefit from the skills levy that is being invested by the private sector in our country. Honourable Chairperson, we then had the Honourable MEC Zilch, Honourable Zolile Williams. He first started talking about Bluetoothing. I wasn't really sure what he meant by that. Bluetoothing, as I understand it, is a term used in KwaZulu-Natal where people share the use of narcotics. So I think we must be careful, Honourable Chairperson, with our terminology. But the Honourable Williams also went on to say that the DA rescue plan is offensive to him. Now, we can all agree that the apartheid regime was evil. It oppressed people on the basis of race, it deprived people, and it treated people, some more superior and others inferior. And we know that the Nationalist Party that became the New Nationalist Party and ultimately merged with the ANC, we know that that is now part of history. But comparing ourselves to 1994 is not an honest comparison of progress that we should be making as a country. If you want to compare yourself to an evil regime, then that is the benchmark that you are measuring yourself to. So throughout the Premier's address and throughout the Honourable Williams' address, he keeps comparing the progress that we have made, how life is better now compared to 1994. And I agree. I completely agree. Life is better today, Honourable Premier, than it was in pre-1994. But the question we should be asking ourselves is, have we done justice to the hopes and dreams that have been put in us by our people? And I can tell you now, whilst the Eastern Cape has the highest unemployment rate in the country, the Western Cape, that took a different approach to governance, has the lowest unemployment rate in the country and has created the most jobs over this last term of office. In fact, 65% over this entire 6 terms, 65% of all jobs that have been created in South Africa was created in the Western Cape. We then had the Honourable Zolile Williams talking about access to services. Now, access to services, as was pointed out by my colleague, Dr. Vicky Knutzer, matters if the services are available. There's no point putting a tap with pipes if there's no water coming out of it. And there's no point putting electricity pylons if there's no electricity that is available, because we haven't invested in infrastructure. And the amounts of monies that have been returned to National Treasury because of unspent infrastructure grants in our province, it's obscene, it's disgusting. We should all hang our heads in shame. In fact, just today, the ANC, EFF, Patriotic Alliance Coalition that is running Nelson Mandela Bay into the ground, just today in my constituency, in the northern areas of Nelson Mandela Bay, people do not have electricity because the temporary connections haven't been fixed, because the substations haven't been maintained, and yet we want to stand here and boast about access to electricity. We then had the Honourable Konza. Now, I know the Honorable Konza is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, and she's not the MEC, and MEC Fanta is the MEC for Social Development. But I would expect the chairperson of a Portfolio Committee, I've had very good experiences with chairpersons from the ANC. You have many good chairpersons of Portfolio Committees. But I would expect the chairperson of a Portfolio Committee, such as this, the Portfolio Committee of Social Development, to be able to be a little bit more honest about the challenges that we are facing, particularly regarding the cost of living, MEC, the rising cost of living that is affecting our people, particularly in the Eastern Cape. And the Honorable Konza says that those that act blind and deaf in this House will never be able to see. Now, I say to the Honorable Konza that the Eastern Cape Department of Social Development over this term of office has underspent by over R500 million of its budget, whilst our people go hungry, whilst the vulnerable do not have a safety net to catch them. And in fact, Program 2 of the Department of Social Development, which is to provide integrated developmental social services to the poor and vulnerable in partnership with stakeholders in civil society, underspent by a whopping 259,780,000 rand over this term of office. I would expect the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee to have done something about that, to be irritated about that, and to say this far and no further. Unfortunately, she was one of those that came up here to defend this kind of incompetence that is affecting our people. We then had the Honorable Mani Lusiti. Now, the Honorable Mani Lusiti, really, I'm trying to make odds of this. I got over 90% for mathematics in matric, but I still can't add this one up. And let me just explain for a second. The Honorable Mani Lusiti says that we have a duty to reflect on our performance. And then she goes on to say, she then goes on to try and humiliate one of our members here. How is that reflecting on our performance? If you want to get personal with people, when we're dealing with a province that is afflicted with the kind of challenges that we have, Honorable Premier, that is not the kind of example that we would like to see. And similarly with the Honorable Meth, this was one that was even more difficult to add up. The Honorable Meth, in describing the NHI, says, if there's an accident, and there's 3 people in that accident, and 2 of them don't have medical aid, and 1 of them have medical aid, the one with medical aid will get an ambulance, and the other 2 will die. But before she said that, she said, in our province, if you pick up the phone, an ambulance will come. What happened to the 2 people without medical aid? Why didn't the ambulance come? She then goes on to say, Honorable Meth, that the ANC is relentlessly providing quality healthcare to our people. If the ANC was relentlessly providing quality healthcare, Honorable Premier, surely the 2 people without medical aid would be alive and well. I'm sure one of them is Tinswalo. And if Tinswalo was in the Eastern Cape in this accident, we would be burying Tinswalo. But let me tell you something else. If Tinswalo was in the Western Cape, Tinswalo would have been picked up by an ambulance, Honorable Premier, been taken to a hospital with robotic surgeries, and would have been living a life of meaning today. I suppose if we talk about unkept promises, one of the promises that the Honorable Premier made in starting his term of office is that the ideal clinics, those with ideal clinic status, will be increased to 80% from 56%. Only 25% of our clinics, Honorable Premier, now enjoy that status. We then had, Honorable Premier, talk about housing. And unfortunately, Honorable Premier, this is another unkept promise. When you took office, you promised that we would build over 50,000 houses. In this term of office, we've built half of that. Now, many of you might ask, and many of our people ask, in the words of Martin Luther King, how long? How long do our people need to suffer the indignity of going to bed without food, of not getting to school because there's no scholar transport, of an ineffective education system that doesn't consider dropouts, of load shedding that is driving away investment and employment. And I'm here to say, how long? Not long. How long? 29th of May, not long. The multi-party charter will become a reality. And we have shown that it can be done in the Western Cape. Honourable Premier, you can keep yourself in an echo chamber of your praise singers, or you can, like for example in the Western Cape, launch a contact centre for our people in order to report failures, service delivery failures that affect their lives. If there is one in the provincial government, I'm not aware of it, Honourable Premier, and our people are not aware of it. But let me tell you, in the Western Cape, 1.4 million calls were logged in this term of office, 1 million tickets were opened, and 96% of queries were resolved. That is the kind of competent government that gives you the truth of what is happening in your province. In the Western Cape, since 2019, 1.1 million cooked meals were provided to our residents through 102 nutrition and development centres and 358 soup kitchens, whilst we underspent on our social development budget. But I suppose the best story that we can share with the rest of the country come after the next elections, it comes to jobs. And the growth and job strategy, which is the roadmap to a 1 trillion rand jobs-rich economy, and aims to grow the economy between 4 and 6%, is something that has resulted in the employment stats that we have experienced. And it's not just about creating employment. We, the DA, care about the most vulnerable in our society. And that is why, if you need to go to a job interview in the Western Cape, you will ride free of charge on a Golden Arrow bus, or you will ride free of charge on one of the My City buses. This, whilst in Nelson Mandela Bay, the IPTS buses have been taken off the road by the PA, ANC and EFF coalition. Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Premier, time does not allow me to reflect on all of the successes that we have experienced, but I just want to say to the Honourable Ngata, who will be speaking next, Honourable Ngata, I know that you will try and attack, but I'm hoping that just like you have now scheduled the Crime and Safety Summit in the northern areas of Nelson Mandela Bay, that we can focus on the solutions that we are presenting. And I want to say, Honourable Ngata, thank you. Thank you that you have now set a date of the 15th of March for this Crime and Safety Summit after we have passed the motion for the summit. We are suffering in the northern areas, we are under siege, and we look forward to seeing you on the 15th of March. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. African National Congress, Honourable Ngata, your 15 minutes starts now, MEC.
No, Honourable Kasim, must try next door. It is the ANC that writes my notes, not the DA. He can't write my notes here and tell and prescribe for me what to say. Honourable Chair of Chairs, Honourable Chief Whip of this august House, the Honourable Premier and members of the Executive Council, Honourable members of the House, the DG and HODs present and all officials, distinguished guests, good afternoon. The 30 years of being in power, being a movement of the people whose historic mission has been clear from the beginning. We know the responsibility of being in government. Siyayazi ubana uba ngurhulumente nokwakha kunzima, uchitha kulula, kwaye uba ngurhulumente ayondlalo. Abanye abantu abamanye apha usuqonda ubana abantu ababavotileyo badlalile ngevoti zabo. Ngokuqonda umuntu uzawuma apha azodlala apha. Andikhumbuza nalaa nto sobantwana udlala uba ngutata nomama okanye uqhuba imoto pip 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 pip. Benze ezo nto abantu apha. Uba bengavotela ngosuphuma uthi phuma phandle uyodlala because abantu bayadlala.
One thing, Honorable Chair of Chairs, Honorable Kasim, through you, Honorable Chair of Chairs, which I find it offensive. I find it offensive to the black majority, particularly the Africans, that the Jews, more than 8 years after the Holocaust, with the genocide that occurred, the killing of 6 million Jews, they have got a right still today to feel pained. And you in the DA, you still have a right to still support Israel. And we, 30 years of our freedom, our history of 300 years is just a story. We must not speak about it. I find it quite very offensive. I find it very offensive. So, Honorable Chair, our ancestors met almost 112 years ago to establish our glorious movement, the African National Congress. Ile ikhulule lo ditswalo usuka bungazi ubunguditswalo. Je basethetha yonke lento ayithethayo ukuditswalo khaka yazi ubunguditswalo. Omnye unguditswalo uyayikhanyela ubunguditswalo. Ahlalile ne-RDP ayikhanyele upapa kathi kuyo utreye uba makakhanyele umthetho wakhe. Yabona ke-ANC, what is good about it? We lead everybody. Whether you're aware or not aware that the ANC is a leader of society, we lead them all. Some, they are bold to stand here, pretend as if there was no COVID. When we led them to find solutions, secure vaccines, they stand here targeting the premium on their commitments about halving unemployment. Failing to appreciate that there was COVID, we provide leadership. All of them, they were looking to the ANC for leadership. And that's our responsibility. We can't ask you, why are you looking at us? That's our responsibility. So our movement was founded under the slogan, Africa Maibuye, where white South Africans took 87% of our land, agricultural land. And some are talking about here that these are stories. Instead of talking about reparations, because some who sit here in this chamber are beneficiaries of grandparents who benefited handsomely from apartheid. They inherited, including you. I won't be surprised, you won't know that. You won't know, you must represent your masters, speak on their behalf. You are defending them, that's your work. Don't distract me. So when we struggled for the return of the land for the black people, some were like those who are here now, complaining. Yes, the struggle continues. We managed to secure the political power whilst the economy is still in the white hands through land ownership and the commanding heights of the economy, of which the shop steward of those who own the economy, of which the majority are white, is the DA, no other party. Is the DA, no other party. Honorable Speaker, our movement in our 51st ANC conference discussion document on the integrated and accelerated approach to infrastructure development had this to say, I quote, the ANC has led the way to provide an integrated historical approach to major social and economic questions, including the provisioning of infrastructure. One of the major tasks we undertook was to do a survey covering social, physical infrastructure and its maintenance and assessment of the future needs that needs to be addressed going forward. What we found is that there was an infrastructure backlog of about 170 billion in our country across all areas of activity. Ayonso Milena, Honorable Van Bukona, nor is it claims. These are the realities of what we have found. None among us may deny the fact that the Eastern Cape province is a construction site from Gamtuzi to Mzimkulu River. The development of Msikaba and Mtendu bridges are major catalytic projects being done by our government through Central. This is the evidence. Whether you're coming in through King, whether through Brepa, I claim, I saw stories. Abantu would come then stand and tell the honorable people was telling stories, and that they pass every day over evidence of good work being done by this government as we turn our province into a construction site. The private sector, of which the DA is a shop steward of the monopoly industry, is the major beneficiaries of these developments. As business people, hence, it is important that where government, we call upon to contribute, to work in partnership. Because when they're talking about the millions we spent on vaccines, the major beneficiaries was business. And yet they are engaged in a strike investment, not contributing to invest in the job-creating areas of our economy, like manufacturing industry. Honorable Speaker, it is a fact that the ANC government has turned indeed the province to a construction site. As the Department of Transport, who are working tirelessly to change the face of the province, we have invested only this term, not less than 5 billion in infrastructure as a department. I'm not talking about the more than 20 billion invested by Sandra. It is this government that has done this work. And it has benefited small business people. It has benefited women and youth by creating, it has benefited the disabled, Honorable Chair. Whether you're talking about the Butterworth to Tandana Road, whether you're talking about Fikile Kwadana Road, Esbeleni, whether Kolocha to Tandana, whether Spetu Road, whether the Spetu Hospital itself, which only in that area, our government has invested $500 million for Spetu, Ndabankulu only. More than $500 million that is invested. That is not a claim. That is not a story. It's something that is experienced by our people through this government. The Tsolwana Nature Reserve and many other areas. And perhaps, Honorable Vena, if he was here, there is something which is not talking about here, Honorable Chair of Chairs. In that chaos they were doing there during the SOPA, apparently, but I doubt it was a mistake, apparently Honorable Zibula knocked this Vena. He punched him seriously, he knocked him down. I thought I should invite him to repeat that one. Sometimes you do get a sense that, you know, they are so chaotic, those people. We can think that is a mistake. That thing was deliberate. It's done deliberately. So, honorable members, in the past 2 years of our province, experienced heavy rains. That's why I'm saying you can seriously, you can vouch that other people, when they speak here, there was no COVID, there are no disasters, there are no riots, and that took place. You can vouch that those things did not happen here in the province, and that the ANC does not lead so that the country is able to withstand those difficult periods. So in the past 2 years, our province experienced heavy rainfalls and floods that swept bridges and caused huge damage to our roads infrastructure. And scientists believe that the climate change is responsible for droughts and floods along the eastern coastline. And it is under this situation that the ANC government, under the President Cyril Ramaphosa, embarked on a special project called Welisiwe Bridges. And our province has received about 19 bridges, another 17 bridges. The work is being done. Our department has transferred 137 million to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure for this work to be done. And already the 17 bridges are under construction. So the state of the roads in the province, whilst we appreciate that 90% of the roads are gravel roads and only 10% are surface roads. It is for this reason that this government, it's not again a story, it's not a claim. Only last week, we received about 19 graders to be followed by 18 water tanks. You know, that is not a story. That is aimed at then enhancing our service delivery model to ensure that we deal with the challenges of roads. Precisely, we know its importance in ensuring that we facilitate economic development, but at the same time, people have access to health facilities and to education and to tourist sites. As a department, we highly appreciate the partnership, for instance, that exists between ourselves and Sandral around the Breibach, which I've just spoke about, the interchange in Breibach. We also appreciate that this ANC government is improving. This R63 road, ikonce ubheke kumha. Kuyakhiwa nawo, ayo claim, ayiso story eso. It's just next door.
Honorable Minister,
Hello, sir.
I pause your time. You have exactly 3 minutes, 4 seconds to conclude the debate. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Speaker, let me assure this August House that we are fighting crime tooth and nail in collaboration with other law enforcement agencies. The reduction of crime in the province, as per recent crime statistics, is a testimony in itself, where you find that in the 17 serious crime categories, you'll find that you have secured a reduction of 13 crime categories, which is a 76.4% in terms of reduction. And that is a work that is being done. In Buffalo City Metro, reduction out of 13 out of 17, that Buffalo City, Nelson Mandela, 13 out of 17 crime categories. That is a reduction. And we do underline the fact that crime remains a challenge. Hence our commitment to continue to work with our communities, with all social partners to fight crime. It is this government that has established, opened the state-of-the-art laboratory. There, that is not a story, that is not a claim. It's there. And that laboratory is able to service not only the Eastern Cape, the Western Cape, including the Northern Cape, in terms of, it's a provincial lab. It's a provincial lab. You are Western Cape MPS.
Just hold on. Honorable Minister, I've paused your time. Honorable Kasim, don't elongate your stay on the podium through hotspotting the current speaker. Thank you very much. Continue.
Honorable Chair of Chairs, thank you very much, sir. I'm also pleased to inform this August House where I've recorded the following successes in Nelson Mandela Metro. In all the mass murderers, without going to detail, out of the 6 of them, whether it's Amakanda, 5 suspects, whether it's Midlands College, whether it's Dr. Nokeke, whether it's Kwanobuhle, all those murders, we have secured arrests in all of them. And what we're doing now, only this morning, there was a kidnapping of another fellow, an Indian fellow, and a demand ransom of 1.6 million. And the family paid, he was released early hours of this morning, the family paid. But I'm glad to announce that already the Hawks have been able to arrest 3 of the suspects, some money recovered, even the phone which was used to demand the ransom has been found. So we are likely to get all of those. So government is at work because once we have succeeded in making arrests in all these matters, it's post facto, we are not happy because we have lost lives. That's why we're focusing on intensifying our intelligence-driven crime fighting capacity so that we prevent these incidents than be reactive. Honorable Chair of Chairs, let me conclude by reiterating the ANC's commitment to the renewal process. Our renewal process is focusing on these areas: the eradication of corruption, the professionalization of the public service, and the professionalizing our work as well, good governance, quality and agile service delivery. Whilst we appreciate the kind of a record which has not been seen in terms of audit outcomes in the province, but our focus is going to ensure that those audit outcomes are able to correlate positively with service delivery on the ground. They are important on their own because they speak how well, as this government, we are improving and looking after public resources. Honorable Chair, Lastly, we wish to submit that no government other than the ANC government has ever committed to self-introspection. For the purpose of strengthening nation building, all hands on deck to build the Eastern Cape we want, the home of the legends. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, MEC. That concludes the discussions on the matter and the business of the day. The House will adjourn until Wednesday, 28th February 2024 at 2:15 for the reply by the Premier. The House is adjourned.